Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Aldas, and today I'm going to be talking about Ferrari in 2019. Now, after the Japanese Grand Prix, Mercedes wrapped up their 6th consecutive Constructors title, and of course that means that unofficially at the moment, they are going to have a 6th consecutive double with drivers and constructors as well, because of course only the Mercedes drivers of Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas can now mathematically win the drivers' title. So it's definitely been a very good season for Mercedes, and quite rightly so, because they've just been the best team in 2019. But I think looking at 2019 and looking at the bigger picture of the entire season, I think a lot of people are going to fall for the fact that it's been another season of Mercedes domination. They've had the best car. It's just been another easy cakewalk for Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton. But in my opinion, I don't think that's the case, because I think Ferrari have no excuses for 2019. They should have been in the fight for the title and they should have been in the fight for the constructors, but it just didn't come together for many reasons, and that is what I'm going to talk about in detail in today's video. Now guys, don't forget, if you do enjoy the content on my channel and want to see more, don't forget to drop a like, smash that subscribe button, that'll be greatly appreciated, and check out my social medias. Instagram and Twitter will be above. But guys, let's get into it. So I'm going to jump into all the little aspects of the team a little bit later on, but first of all, let's look at the big picture. What races got away from them in 2019? What races should have they won to be in the title fight? Because quite frankly, their title challenge kind of died before it even got going at the start of the season, and that is what was really frustrating. So let's go back to almost the very start of the season and Bahrain, in a race where Charles Leclerc and quite frankly Ferrari really did look like the best car on that weekend. Charles Leclerc was leading the race, looking like he might take his first ever win, not only for Ferrari but in Formula 1 in general, but sadly then he had a reliability issue and had to retire, handing the Grand Prix win to Lewis Hamilton. And then on top of that, Sebastian Vettel, who I thought really could have won that race once Leclerc retired, had a spin as well, so he threw away Ferrari's first win as well. So that was one gone in Bahrain straight away. Now, next we get to Baku, and another weekend where Ferrari really did look like favourites, and Charles Leclerc, he was on the pace the entire weekend, and then making a mistake, he crashed in qualifying and then had to start way further down and basically threw away a chance. Leclerc looked like the favourite pretty much throughout all of the practice sessions, so that was a massive loss, crashing out in Baku, and a race win that I think slipped from his fingers. In Canada, of course, then we had Sebastian Vettel qualified on pole, but made a mistake under pressure in the race once again, handing it to Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton. Another race win gone. Then we get to Austria, a great race to watch and a great battle between Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc. Another one where I think Charles Leclerc could have held Max Verstappen off if he was a little bit more aggressive, and yet again, I think another win that slipped from Ferrari's fingers. That's 4, by the way, guys. That would have been a massive difference at the start of the season. Next we move on to Germany. Leclerc again crashing out whilst being behind the Mercedes, which then of course Verstappen went on to win the German Grand Prix. But if Leclerc did not crash out, and if the events continue to unfold, like Hamilton crashing out and then Bottas perhaps making a mistake, it would have been Charles Leclerc to take advantage of all of those situations. Now, of course, a lot of ifs and buts there, but I think Germany, again, Ferrari looked on the pace, and I think it's another race that really did get away from them. Then we move on to Belgium. That was a good race. They did manage to win it. Then we move on to Italy. Yes, they won that again. So finally, Ferrari gaining some momentum, starting to deliver those results. Leclerc with back-to-back wins. Then we get to Singapore. Again, a little bit of controversy there for Ferrari. Leclerc was not happy, but at the end of the day, it was Vettel to take his first win of 2019 and a 1-2 for Ferrari, their first of 2019. So finally, again, gaining some momentum and getting some results. Then we move on to Russia. It was a brilliant opportunity for Ferrari to win again, but Ferrari were entangled with some team orders, and at the end of the day, Vettel retired due to reliability, and it all came crashing down when they really should have had that race. And then we get to Japan, a race where they qualified 1-2 on the grid, and from there, both drivers got bad starts, and so it was yet another win that was thrown away by Ferrari. Now, if you guys kept count, that is 10 races that, in my opinion, from the start of the season up until now, Ferrari at the very least should have got a very strong result in, if not won the race. That would have really boosted them in the title. Now, if you actually compare to what Mercedes have now in 2019, Mercedes have 12 wins. So that would have been very tight, 10 wins to 12 wins. Obviously, they wouldn't have been able to share that because they would have had to fight for those wins, but at least Ferrari would have been able to take off points away from Mercedes. So it would have been tight this season, but I think Ferrari definitely should have capitalized, and there was a lot of races where they could have capitalized, but they failed to do so. And also, talking hypothetically, even if they were in the title fight by now and mathematically could have challenged Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas, looking at the upcoming races, I think Mexico and USA could have also been very strong tracks for Ferrari, and even yet more wins that hopefully they will be able to get going into the end of 2019. So even running down through those 10 race wins that they could have had in 2019 to take points away from Mercedes and actually put a title fight with either of their drivers, of course those were all hypotheticals that I just said, but I think they were realistic. They should have had at least more wins than they should have had now. There are so many races that they threw away. But now let's talk about facts and let's talk about 2019, and first of all, driver errors. This has been an Achilles heel for both the drivers. They have both made errors that have been very costly. Let's first of all start off with Sebastian Vettel. So firstly, he had that spin in Bahrain. Once again, like I said, I think he could have won that race, so that was very costly. Then he had that driver error in Canada that gave him the 5-second penalty. Doesn't matter what you think, that was very costly nevertheless, and he lost another win there. Then he crashed into Verstappen in Silverstone. Perhaps that wasn't as costly, but it still would have cost points, and if he was in a title fight, every single point matters, so another error there. Then he had that spin in Italy on a weekend where he really did have a very strong car and perhaps could have been challenging for the win, and then he had a bad start in Japan from pole position, once again losing a huge amount of points. Now let's move on to the mistakes that Charles Leclerc has made. Now I will say right from the off, it is his first season for Ferrari, his second season in Formula 1, and I do give him a lot more slack than Sebastian Vettel for the mistakes he's made, but when you're at the top, you just cannot afford to make these mistakes, and it has not been a faultless season by Charles Leclerc, there's no doubt about that. Let's start off with, he crashed in qualifying in Baku. I think perhaps he could have been on pole for that race. Then let's get to Monaco. He was really overly aggressive driving in Monaco and cost the team a few points there. It would have been a very difficult weekend considering where he started, but again, every single point matters when you're fighting with Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas, so you cannot just discount that from the equation. Next, we move on to his crash in Germany, and I think the fact that he was in front of Max Verstappen before the crash, I think he could have gone on to take the win there. Again, loads of ifs and buts, but it's very highly likely, in my opinion, after we know what happened with the Mercedes, with Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas. Then we move on to the final one in Japan. Not only did he get a bad start, actually, he then went on to collide with Max Verstappen. In my opinion, Leclerc was at fault there, absolutely, and cost the team a whole bunch of points after the penalty and having to pit multiple times. So that was the driver mistake so far in 2019, but now let's move on to the team errors that have also been made so far this season. Now, all the way at the start of the season in both China and Spain, starting off there, Ferrari were not decisive enough with their team orders and just didn't use their drivers cleverly enough, and I'm pretty sure lost a few points there and there despite not getting any wins, and I don't think they would have got any big results there, but still some points lost. Then we move on to Baku, sending Leclerc and Vettel out on medium tyres in very cold conditions. If we remember back then in qualifying in Baku, it was very cold and both drivers straight away struggled, but it was Leclerc who put it into the wall after being fastest in every single practice session. That, in my opinion, was a big mistake by the team, but also a bit of a driver error as well. But it's never helped when your team sends you out on medium tyres in cold conditions, so an error there. Then we get to Monaco and not sending Leclerc out in Q1 again to give him an extra lap, which ultimately knocked him out in qualifying, and we know Monaco in qualifying, it is so important. So just a really stupid mistake from Ferrari there. Next, we move on to Leclerc in Monza. Now, whilst he was on provisional pole in the final part of Q3, he decided to disobey team orders and not give Sebastian Vettel the tow in the final run of Q3, even though Sebastian Vettel had already given him the tow earlier in the session, which is what got him the provisional pole lap. And that actually compromised Sebastian Vettel's run, so he gave the advantage to Leclerc, but Leclerc did not give the advantage to Seb later on. So a team dynamic error, a team error in my opinion, because they did not manage to handle the situation and they allowed Leclerc to disobey team orders and go above the team, which is never good. And then finally we get to Russia, where Ferrari got caught up in a bit of a team orders incident, trying to give Charles Leclerc the lead of the race, despite the fact that they were already 1-2 with Sebastian Vettel, who actually had really decent pace and deserved to stay in the lead of the race. And in my opinion there, yet again, they sabotaged themselves from getting a potential 1-2. So we've looked at driver errors, we've looked at team errors, and now finally let's look at reliability. Now, no doubt that Ferrari have had the quickest power unit in 2019, but reliability wise, yeah, they've had some trouble and it has been costly. Again, let's go back all the way to the start of the season. Charles Leclerc retiring from Bahrain, that definitely cost them a win. Then Sebastian Vettel had reliability problems during qualifying in Austria. Now, this was a track where Ferrari was strong, and perhaps with Vettel there, either on pole or backing up Leclerc in the race, we all know and we've all seen how much easier it is when it's 2 against 1, and I think Ferrari really, with two drivers, Sebastian Vettel and Charles Leclerc up there, I think they could have held off Max Verstappen for the win. Now again in Germany, in a very similar incident, both the Ferraris suffered reliability issues during qualifying. Now this was very frustrating because Ferrari were the quickest in every single practice session and had real pace to be on pole with either of their drivers, which would have helped them massively in the race. And if you remember, the Ferraris in the dry condition, especially with Sebastian Vettel towards the end of the race, yeah, he was mega. So I think Germany, again, a big one lost there. And then we come to the most recent reliability issue for Ferrari, which was at the Russian Grand Prix with Sebastian Vettel. He also had another engine issue there, which brought out the VSC, which effectively handed the race win to Mercedes, and a 1-2 for the team with Lewis Hamilton winning that race. So that is basically my detailed analysis of Ferrari and their mistakes and the various points and races that they lost and dropped. And it's just, again, a very frustrating season for Ferrari in my opinion. They had the car to win this championship, or at the very least fight for it and take it further into the season. But due to reliability issues, due to driver errors, due to team errors, they just weren't able to do that, and that is why I'm saying they have no excuses for 2019. This season is not a Mercedes runaway. This season was a masterclass in how Ferrari lose a championship. The reason why I'm saying all of these things is because hopefully Ferrari and Binotto learn from all of these mistakes and in 2020 are able to remedy some of these mistakes. We've already seen it get a lot better towards the end of the season, but they need to bring the fight to Mercedes from the first race of the season because we know how strong they are. And I think Mercedes, after those 5 1-2s in a row at the start of the season, that is where they won the championship. But again, it's all history now. So I'm hoping Ferrari next season will be strong from the very beginning and actually give us a title battle in 2020. Anyway, guys, there you go. That is my video on Ferrari. But let me know in the comments below, did I miss anything, any more mistakes or any more errors by the team or any more reliability issues? Let me know in the comments below and what you thought of this video and what you thought of Ferrari in 2019. Do you agree with me, and do you think that Ferrari really should have been at the very least in this title fight at this point in the season? Well, anyway, guys, if you did enjoy this video, don't forget to drop a like, smash that subscribe button, and check out my social medias. Instagram and Twitter will be above. And guys, I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.